Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's that time again, and it's time to look at all of the absolute idiocy that's been going on in the last 7 days. And what a 7 days it has been. We've got an election coming on July the 4th. Can you believe it? Absolutely extraordinary stuff. I'm sure Rishi Sunak's name may come up. We've got a fantastic panel. We've got Alex Phillips, we've got Stephen Allen, we've got Amanda Devlin, and we have got, of course, leader of the Alapa Party, Mr. Alex Salmond, the only person who's probably got more of an interest in the election than the rest of us. But let's kick it off with a Scottish story, because Alex has got the Greens.
Well, I thought I would take a load off my fellow Alex and take the Scottish Greens on his behalf. No, they're just mad, aren't they? They've expelled members from the party because these people happen to believe in biological sex. They believe that men are born men, women are born women. So that, in Green terms, makes them neo-Nazis, basically. That makes them absolute fascists. And the thing I find so queer about these people with their short fringes and their mental illness hairstyles, right? You see what I did? It's that they are the fascists.
Yes.
They're the ones who hate free speech. They're the flat earthers who just want to sort of brainwash people into believing a load of mumbo-jumbo, break down all the structures of society, whether it be, basic things such as monogamy, having a history to this country, having your own culture. They just want to destroy
having a penis and calling yourself a man.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
None of it adds up. No. None of it makes sense.
So 13 of them.
People got near power.
13 of them.
Gone.
I mean, the thing that surprises me is that that many of them kick out the party, to be honest. I remember Patrick Harvey, who Alex will know well. I used to know Patrick Harvey when he was a sort of jumped-up social worker. Back in the sort of, 2004, 2005, around then. And suddenly now he's running the country.
But not anymore. No, he's been sacked.
Well,
almost Hamza's last act.
Who's that?
Hamza the Brief.
Hamza the Brief.
Hamza the Brief
useless.
sacked Patrick. And the nation cheered.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, Hamza resigned. Just when he should have been celebrating his sole success. The thing about Scottish Greens is they don't actually believe in green politics.
No.
Nor, although they claim so, they don't actually believe in independence. So if you're in the Scottish Greens and you say this climate change is a lot of nonsense, they won't expel you.
No.
If you say independence is rubbish, they won't expel you. But if you say you believe in biological sex, you're for the chop.
Yes.
Right.
Incredible.
I mean, I just think that it's a party of mental illness. People say that there's mental illness on the rise around the world. Apparently, the lunatics are starting to run the asylum.
Yeah, but isn't there something weird going on with the Green Party as well?
Well,
because look what happened in local elections, where you suddenly had all these guys shouting "Allahu Akbar."
My understanding,
they didn't care much about climate change either.
Those Greens are different from the Scottish Greens. My understanding is they're sort of separate Greens. I don't know the technicalities of this.
Different shades.
But how on earth? I
green,
different shades.
Forest green,
sage. But I want to know whether some of their sort of, massively pro-Gaza Muslim candidates with their big old beards and their sort of, butcher's outfit, actually like stating their pronouns.
Yeah. I mean, also, could there be anything that they could agree on from the Scottish Greens and their attitudes towards, biological sex? And
neither seem to like women's
Gaza
rights,
Brigade.
basically.
They're not keen on women.
They're not keen on women.
Maybe that's the thing that's going to unite them. They're sort of the UK Greens. We hate women.
Yeah, right. There you go.
We'll see how they go in the. What do you think is going to happen in the national election for the Greens?
Well, I think they'll get their just desserts.
Because Caroline Lucas is standing down, isn't she?
Let me separate Caroline Lucas, who is a genuine Green politician, from the Scottish Greens, who are imposters.
Yes, I think that's probably fair. Steve, who have you got for us?
I'm going to go for National Police Chief Council because they've got a great idea. Just to set the scene, we know that our prisons, they're too full. There's fewer than 1,000 spaces left in our men's prisons, which is why I think Scotland came up with the idea of sending men to women's prisons. Everyone judged it, but it fixed this problem.
More room in women's prisons?
It did temporarily fix it.
Fair enough.
So we've already got Operation Early Dawn, which is, again, not about transition.
That's not the name of a woman,
it seems like, change her over and move her into a women's prison.
Early Dawn. Come on.
The idea is release people early so you free up spaces. They've not fully repaid their debts to society, but we'll stomach it. That's not good enough.
No.
Right? Now, get them before you've even repaid your debt to society.
Right.
Try not to arrest anyone.
Right.
And then we won't have problems with the prisons being too full.
It's so easy. I don't know why they didn't think of this before.
They should go a step further. If you decriminalise crime, our stats would be great. No one needs to be arrested for anything if it's not, illegal to murder anymore.
I've got to stop you, though, for a minute, because you know what we forgot to do? Can we see?
He's on his bike.
Oh.
Every time. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought we can't go without that.
Breaking news like that, breaking leg news.
Yeah, breaking leg. Anyway, yes.
I mean, the only foil in your plan, actually, if you decriminalise everything, is all these poor asylum seekers who have raped people and get to stay in this country as a result of that might end up being deported.
No, they won't. Don't be silly. No, don't be silly. Don't be ridiculous. Nobody's ever going to get deported from this country.
To be fair to them,
it's entry only.
They're only pausing what do they call it? Non-priority arrests. So I thought, I wonder what they are, because I thought they're all kind of. There seems like a priority if you're arresting someone.
Yeah.
It includes, if they've identified someone from CCTV who's a burglar, that's a non-priority arrest.
Is it?
I'm getting a free meal deal on the way over, because they're not going to come and get me.
That's all right. But the thing is, they have tried this, haven't they, in some parts of America? Do you remember during the whole height of the Black Lives Matter, they were decriminalising all sorts of things, and the police they were defunding the police. They were going to, I think Minneapolis decided to actually do away with the police altogether for several months, and then after a few months they went, actually, the place seems to be overrun with criminals, so we better get the police back. And so they brought the police back in. So this business is sort of a lefty idea that if you don't have anything that's illegal, like shoplifting's fine because you're stealing from the rich, that's all right. It soon descends into complete anarchy.
I watched this documentary called The Purge, and they never mentioned the prisons being too full. So maybe there is something in it.
Yeah. Scottish prisons full, Alex?
I thought The Purge was a film series.
Was it?
I watch occasionally of a Friday night. Full of, and the Scottish prisons are too full, but not quite as full as the English prisons.
Yes.
So relatively, the Scottish government is doing well. Yeah. But then, of course, any government on earth would be doing well relative to Rishi Sunak. So
but it is extraordinary that the police are actually issuing these instructions. I mean, you have to kind of blink and just ask the question, are you sure this is not an April Fool? Because the police are now telling police officers to stop arresting people because they haven't got enough room. And I was talking to somebody about this this week, and I said, one of the reasons they haven't got any room to put anyone in police stations, for example, is that they did away with all the police stations. Where I live used to be a police station. They knocked it down, and now it's a block of flats. And they would have had probably half a dozen holding cells they could put people in overnight. Because now they're saying, if you're in a police cell, we're not going to bother taking you to court just in case you get remanded in custody. So we'll just keep you in that cell there, but nobody then can come in and sit in the cell if they've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
Peter Blexley was talking about this a bit earlier on this week on Talk. Let's have a look.
Police officers carry a warrant card so they can exercise those powers of arrest, and to tell them not to is utterly appalling and is putting us all a bit more in danger.
Who was that really attractive presenter?
Was that you in a yellow dress?
That was me in a yellow jacket.
Sorry, I didn't know that. I would have introduced it differently. Yeah. Here's Peter Blexley talking to Alex Phillips earlier in the week. Anyway, but yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Amanda, who's yours? First nomination.
I've got some brilliant nominations this week, if I do say so myself.
Thank you for that.
So
they're always brilliant.
Thank you. So there's the first one up is the wigs that barristers wear.
Yes.
They look, a bit old-fashioned, a bit kind of, a bit silly,
bit gnarly
in this kind of day and age.
Most of them look a bit greasy, to be honest. I don't know how you wash them.
It's tradition, you know. That's what you expect when you see them in their outfits.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some people who want to do away with them, and they might get their wish. They're looking into it, reviewing to actually abandon them completely. So they want to get rid of them because it's racist. Hair discrimination.
Why is
so
it
they're
racist?
calling it a form of hair discrimination, racism, because if it's Afro-Caribbean hair that it doesn't suit, they just,
But it's kind of like quite curly, isn't it, the wigs, and sort of done into... I think it's sexist. No woman's got hair like that.
Yeah.
Well, exactly
Marge Simpson.
Let's just throw in all the isms.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
That's obviously
well, let's have a look.
we're
What
doing
we've got here is a sort of a special guide to these wigs. It'll explain everything. Have a look.
Wigs are made of horsehair, all horsehair. The lining on the inside is all nylon. People do perspire, they do get hot in the wigs, in their jackets and gowns and robes. It's quite a lot of items to wear. Primarily, we clean wigs for people. In some cases, we've picked up wigs that haven't been cleaned for 5 or maybe even 10 or 15 years. And I remember instances where I would pick up an old wig and I could feel creepy crawlies crawling up my arm because they're so heavily stained.
So apparently some wigs don't get cleaned for 10 to 15 years. That's a bit weird, isn't it? What have you got there? No, that one looks brand spanking new.
This is a little present for you.
Are you sure that's not the Ann Summers version? Dress up as Lady Whiplash.
I just picked it up from Ann Summers on my way in. Yeah.
You've lost your gavel.
Thank Thank you so much.
Order.
This.
Order.
So you're going to have to put this on at the end of the show.
Okay.
And,
Here comes the
and
judge.
then when you make, exactly, you're the judge for the plank of the week.
Well, if Steve wore it, it would be more appropriate because.
So it's racism, sexism, and now hairism.
And now hairism, yeah. By the way, we haven't even
got.
got time to get the guy on, or get the plank out for the guy who claimed that he was being bullied, because he had ginger hair, and he said it was akin to being, akin to being prejudiced against because of race. And luckily, amazingly, the tribunal kicked it out and said you're talking absolute nuts and rubbish. But the thing about the wigs, right, is that they have been part of the tradition of but what this tells you as well is how left-wing the bar has become. Because you know how we're always talking about, lefty lawyers and human rights lawyers and people like that. But the more I see barristers now, the more I see these people who are completely and utterly all about, social justice and, collecting money for Gaza. And I mean, they're very politicised now, barristers. And it's the one thing they're not supposed to be.
Of course.
Isn't it?
Why is that happening then?
Well, because they've all gone through university. It can be the only explanation. And they've all been taught to be incredibly
You're
left-wing.
actually saying that English barristers went through university?
Surely
not.
Well, I mean, I was always under the impression, I was in the Temple at the weekend. I was under the impression that the Temple, the Inns of Court, all of those places were terribly sexist, very old male-run institutions full of old right-wing Tories. And he
was deeply disappointed to find that they weren't.
It's the complete reverse of that now. And these people all live in this tiny little kind of coven where nobody else is allowed in. But instead of being, right-wing Tories, they're all now raving lefties.
This must have been shocking. I mean, there you were trying to get your bread and butter pudding and you're eating mess.
Yes.
And you were getting some cabbage and tomatoes.
Well, yeah. I mean, or some couscous and, some kind of, Lebanese food. But the point is that, we used to drink in the pubs in Fleet Street and they would be full of police, lawyers and journalists. And great times were had. Lots of stories were exchanged. Everybody knew what was going on. Now, I don't know what's happening anymore because the police aren't allowed to talk to journalists, the journalists aren't allowed out to drink, and the lawyers are all lefties.
Are we not allowed out to drink?
Well, you're not supposed to tell everybody.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm just imagining this convocation of police, lawyers and journalists with Mike there. You're saying, I'm more right-wing than you. No, I'm more right-wing than you.
I was never right-wing, and I'm not now.
Not until recently.
No, but I'm not now either right-wing. No, I just seem right-wing to you because you're in league with Chairman Mao.
No, I'm in league with English barristers. Keep up.
Exactly. Right, it's time for you to give the pièce de résistance.
Oh, the winner, absolutely.
Well, it may not be.
It
may not be the winner.
Rishi, the little drip Sunak, the man who's provoked...
Drowning out.
The man who's provoked the only decent Daily Telegraph headline in 200 years. Things can only get wetter. I mean, it's the first time that... now remember, the Daily Telegraph is going to be his last supporting paper. So the Prime Minister launches an election campaign amid a downpour, and his last supporting paper, the one organ of the press he can rely on, has the headline, "Things can only get wetter." So that's how bad things are.
Although I'm not sure that it's the right headline, because I don't think things could have got any wetter, because he was about as wet could be, wetter than an otter's pocket.
I want to know what's actually happening inside Downing Street. In that moment, and somebody's got their phone and the precipitation looks at 90%. Right. Prime Minister, shall we wait till 6 o'clock? Where it's only at 10. But no, I think you should go out there now.
Yes.
Because we're appealing basically for the sympathy vote.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think it works for a sympathy vote. But let's have a look at it. Here it is.
I hope that my work since I became Prime Minister shows that we have a plan and are prepared to take bold action necessary for our country to flourish. Now, I've stuck with that plan and always been honest with you about what is needed, even when that's been difficult. Because I'm guided by doing what is right for our country, not what is easy.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look easy, I must say.
I hope that my plan since I've become Prime Minister is to appear almost as useless as Hamza. And to show you by my apparel that I've been in the sea trying to get these migrants back to France by taking direct action and leading from the front.
Yes. The one thing it did give away was the quality of the suit, mind you, because, I mean, I've got soaked like that in some pretty cheap suits, and they basically turned into sort of rolled-up pieces of paper, whereas that actually looked better wet look. I think it must have been at the bottom line, at least in Armani, possibly even
He's going to America, as we all know, which is what all this is about.
Yes.
He's
that's the theory. theory, isn't it?
He's going to be Aquaman.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know what, though? I find that this is actually something it's bothered me about Rishi the whole time of his premiership, is that he
kept you awake at night?
Yeah, that he doesn't laugh and joke about things that aren't like maybe written for him 3 weeks
Yes,
before.
funnily enough, somebody said this to me today.
I think the fact that he was standing there and it was torrential rain and everything, pathetic fallacy, wasn't it? But why did he not mention it?
Right.
Why did he not say?
Why not say?
Hang on, this is miserable. Sorry, you're all getting wet. Blah, blah, blah.
Theory isn't his wife a billionaire because her dad set up a big company called Infosys, which does all this sort of modern computing. My new theory is that Rishi Sunak doesn't actually exist. He's actually a robot that his wife's family have made. Yeah, I think if you lifted up the back of that apparently water-repellent jacket, you'll just see wires
It's true,
and buttons.
though, because he laughs at all the wrong times, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like when that woman was asking him about the NHS waiting list, and he suddenly just laughed and went, and walked off, and you go, what are you laughing for? That's not when you laugh. You laugh when somebody
he
tells
made a joke about it afterwards on Instagram. He had someone handing him an umbrella, and he's like, better late than never. But I think... Instagram, it's not his joke. It's the next day. It's on Instagram.
Here's a joke you could have used.
But I think there is something to what you said, Alex, about the fact that he was trying to look like the underdog, because I think that is their strategy, that they're trying to make out that this poor guy, he's done his best. It's not his fault. They had COVID, they had the Ukraine war, they've got all sorts of problems in the Middle East with the Houthis blocking the ships.
And
now look what's happened. Even despite
the
that,
Conservative Party. The Conservatives can appeal to many human emotions, but appealing to people's better natures as the underdog ain't one of them. The collective will of the great British public will be to put their boot on the Conservative Party's head and crush it to bits.
It may well be,
because
it may well be that, but it depends on the size of the defeat in a way, doesn't it? And I wonder whether he's done something by surprising everybody yesterday or this week with this July the 4th, Southern election. And Keir Starmer, people don't like Keir Starmer because, apart from anything else, he used to be friends with Jeremy Corbyn. He said, he's my friend. And then he chucked him under a bus. And people don't like that. They think, that's not a very nice thing to do.
Although Rishi kind of did that as well with Boris.
Well, yeah, but he's a Tory. You expect it from him. Now, just to make sure that under Labour the weather will be better, we've decided to get a weather forecast for the future. Have a look at this.
All right, it's me, Angela Rayner, and welcome to this weather forecast in the lead up to the general election. Now, unfortunately, it would appear that the Conservatives are drowning in torrential pissing rain and it's spreading across all areas of the country. It's like a tsunami out there. 3-foot flash floods. You can barely see Rishi Sunak. Nothing to get wet about there. But for Labour, though, things are heating up. Wow, I'm getting hot just thinking about it. I need some sunscreen. It's dangerous for us redheads. Even areas of the country that don't usually get the heat are heating up. Manchester, Scorchio. Blackpool, Scorchio. West Midlands, Scorchio. Everywhere, Scorchio.
That's Noreen Skinner, who normally does Liz Truss, but also does Angela Rayner, as you can see. But, those are all 4 pretty good nominations. But, as you've alluded to, being right-wing, you can't even say it, see, I can't be. Right-wing, I might not be able to give Rishi Sunak Plank of the Week, because he's finally done something for me. This is the first thing positive that he's done since he's been Prime Minister. Actually have an election, which everybody wants.
He's seized the initiative.
Yes.
And now he's going down to catastrophic defeat.
Well, we shall see. But coming up, we'll be talking about a lot of other nominations as well. I've got the BBC once again, for all sorts of reasons, you'll be pleased to know. And there's a baby reindeer mentioned as well. It's all coming up next on Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We forgot to do the thing that we always do, which is to bring it in from there and go like that. There we go. We've still got it. We've still got it, as they like to say. Now, the BBC has been in the news for all sorts of reasons this week, and I don't know which one is better for plankery. We had Lucy Fraser, the Secretary of State for Culture and Media, giving an interview and talking to a select committee, actually, about how the BBC failing to call Hamas terrorists is a mistake. So when the government actually says that, you might think they might do something about it. But they've also been slammed for the BBC Arabic coverage, which has made 80 mistakes about the Gaza coverage. And you have to think, well, if they keep making those many mistakes, maybe it's not a mistake. You know, it's BBC Arabic, which has had, if you remember, various journalists on the programmes actually in support of the Hamas terror attack on October the 7th. Many of them liking all sorts of, you know, from the river to the sea type stuff. But the main thing I think we're going to do them for this week is wasting £169 million of our money chasing TV licence dodgers. You know, the people who are too old and infirm or too miserable to pay the licence fee, which is now, I don't even know how much it is now. It's about 170 quid or something, isn't it? But imagine wasting £169 million just trying to get them to pay up.
Imagine how many Gary Linekers that could buy.
Not many.
Well, about 169, I imagine. You know.
I think the thing that annoys me the most about the BBC, and it's a tiny, stupid little thing, but it really gets on my nerves, like so much. Just thinking about it, I can't. Every time I listen to the Today programme, which I do, I sort of self-flagellate most mornings because I think, this is the news headlines, and I like to be up to date with things, and I stick it on and usually drift off back to sleep. But then this one thing happens repeatedly, and it really sort of grinds my gears and gets me ready for work, which is when it comes to talking about anything in the Middle East, for some reason, all the presenters on the Today programme say any word that's connected to the Middle East with an Arabic accent. They don't do it for, like, French. They don't say, Emmanuel Macron in Paris. But they'll say, like, the Taliban and Hamas, and I don't actually notice that.
Yes.
So why do they do that? Why do they have to say?
Are you telling me that is this what provokes your self-flagellation?
It's just I can't.
Yeah, but not only should they commit to it, though, if you're going to do it for one country, do it for all countries, but also do it for the regions within the UK. If you're talking about something happening in Birmingham, I want to hear the accent. Exactly.
Well, then they should say President Xi.
And I want to know why the BBC Newsreaders not say, I've got my Iron Brew here.
All right. Well, that's right. I mean, you're allowed to have it because it wouldn't be cultural appropriation.
For the course of this entire election campaign, I'll be drinking nothing but Iron Brew and whiskey. Yeah. Sometimes together, sometimes separate.
And Lord change there then. And eating nothing but Lorne sausage as well.
I think they should set BBC Scotland free, because BBC Scotland is like the colonial outpost. They're worse than the centre, believe it or not. So I think they should be set free. I think all the bits of the BBC should be set free and compete with each other as public service broadcasters. And I think that'd be much, much better. Stand on their own 2 feet. Do things for themselves.
Right, and stop trying to rinse us for the licence fee. Let's have a look at a licence fee promo.
It has come to my attention that to pay one big lump for your telly licence is sometimes not easy. So how about 4 smaller lumps?
Not pay my TV licence? That's preposterous. I pay mine monthly by direct debit. Animal Hospital with Rolf Harris is worth the money on its own.
Rolf Harris, worth the money on its own. We have delved back into this archive before, and there are examples of Rolf Harris selling the TV licence for you, as well as Jimmy Savile. And even Gary Lineker does it. You know, but of course, it's worth his while, isn't it? Not that I'm lumping any of them together, obviously. Anyway, Alex, over to you. What have you got for us?
Right, this is the story of a student. Can't remember her name. If I could, I'd probably try and...
Dana Abu Kamar.
Hold on. Let me do that in my BBC accent. Dana Abu Kamar. So Dana Abu Kamar from Palestine is a student, and she's sort of been making all sorts of comments in her protests and saying hateful things. And the police have caught up with her and said, well, you know, shouldn't have said that, should you? She's now sort of backtracking. And the government said, well, there you go, going to cancel your student visa. Back home you go to Gaza.
Yes.
I like that. I mean,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think we've got a clip of what she actually said on Sky TV for her to find herself being removed.
They are full with pride. This is the first time that something like this happens in modern day history. For 16 years, Gaza has been under blockade, and for the first time, they are actively resisting. They are not on the defense, and this is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But also, we are full of pride. We're really, really full of joy of what has happened.
This is about October the 7th, which is full of joy about.
I know, it's
just
mad,
checking.
isn't it? You know, this
University of Manchester.
Horrific atrocity happens, and I've been looking at footage recently, actually. There's more footage coming out of some of the female hostages who are still there. These girls, they're sort of 14 years old. One of them was snatched from her own home, and she was still in her sort of Disney pyjamas, bloodied at the back because they think she's probably been severely, you know, sexually assaulted. Yeah. And they were talking about them, oh, yeah, we could make you pregnant. Oh, you know, it's the most horrific... awful, evil thing
It
that
really
I've
is.
ever seen. And there she is going, yay, isn't it great? It's an act of resistance. I'm so proud. No, go home then.
Full of
Go
joy.
join the movement then.
Full of joy.
Do you love it that much?
I know.
Jog on.
I know. It is extraordinary how the world has kind of turned. It was this week, wasn't it, that Israel got pretty upset about the fact that Spain decided to recognise Palestine alongside Norway and Ireland. And I found it rather sort of ironic that Spain's so busy recognising Palestine as a state, but doesn't want to even have a conversation about Catalonia,
Right,
who would quite like to have
Basque
independence
region.
from Spain, but apparently
of
they're not the right religion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Steve, baby reindeer.
Yeah, I mean...
Wait. Can you please say baby reindeer?
I can say baby reindeer.
Baby reindeer.
Baby reindeer.
Like she was in the room.
I was mentioned.
Yes. I'll set this all out.
Yes.
I'll set this all out. It was you in a wig all along with you. Fiona Harvey, slightly bigger than a baby reindeer. And by the way, Fiona, if you're watching, my email address is like me at mrstephenallen.co.uk. Email me because I need an Edinburgh show and I'd love to be on Netflix. So please.
But not 40,000 times, though.
Well, yeah, so she apparently sent 41,000 emails.
She denies that. She's not
She denies it, but 41,000 emails, to put it in context, is how many emails you get if you sign into a shop's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So it's about a week's worth of that.
Right.
She said she actually only sent about 10.
Yeah. Would you like an email receipt? Just say no, always.
Because they will follow you forever. Yeah. But now it turns out she sent about 300 messages to Sir Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Firstly, hand in...
And he gave a different answer to every one. Because the first one was, do you believe in the European Union? Yes. No. Yes. Yes.
But
no.
she should hand in a stalker badge because you're meant to obsess about someone who's got charisma.
Right.
If you're finding yourself obsessing about Keir Starmer, you're doing all the work, is what I'm saying there. She sent loads of messages. She called him little boy. She said his life wouldn't be worth living.
Right.
She insulted
his
his wife.
Isn't worth living, to be honest.
She's been contacted by the police and probably contacted by the Daily Mail to do a column.
Yeah.
So, her.
She'll get a book contract as well, probably.
She could do that.
She's suing everybody now, isn't she?
And she knows some lawyers, lots of lawyers, I seem to remember.
Do you know what? If I was one
But
of
she hasn't got a law
these,
degree. She just studied 13 different kinds of law.
Well, because the character I was watching, because everybody was watching it. Well, the character in the programme comes up to the bar, the stalker, and says, "I've been working for all the best politicians, like Alex Salmond."
Yes.
And I sort of leaned forward and went, and then said, "And Nick Clegg." And David Cameron. And I thought, oh, hell.
Right. But, I mean, she was supposedly involved in some level of seniority in Scottish politics, but I don't remember her, and I don't know whether you do.
And I got mentioned, so I
Yeah.
only got one mention. I didn't get 10,000.
You haven't had any emails from her, then?
Well, I actually know somebody that has, but I'll let that lady tell her own story. but as no doubt she will very shortly. But
in the fullness of time,
because I'm so incompetent about these things, I could probably miss 10,000 emails quite easily.
Do you know, if I was one of those Nigerian scammers that sort of files out all of these emails saying I'm a Nigerian prince and I need somewhere to put my money, can I have your bank account details?
Got names like
I
John
would employ this woman.
Do
you know what I mean? Her sort of churn rate is really impressive. With that sort of level of output, you'd think she'd probably have a fair amount of success if she sort of changed her approach a bit.
Yeah, I suppose so. What you mean if she was actually looking for money?
Yeah, she could just be like a professional fisher, a fisher.
I mean, we used to call them in newspaper days before the internet the Green Ink Brigade, because they'd write these sort of poison pen letters to whoever they didn't like that day.
I used to get these from Donald Trump.
Yes.
No, seriously. Before he discovered Twitter, he used to write me letters. Not just me, presumably, but he did write me letters in capital letters in green, enclosing press cuttings and saying things like, "What do you think of this?"
Really?
And I used to look. Well, I don't know.
Was this when you were trying to work out whether to give him permission to have a golf course?
No, you see, the Donald is obsessed by wind turbines. He's very much against them. This is why we fell out.
Yeah,
we fell out not over nuclear war or not over.
The golf course
because of his hair.
Well, no, we fell out because I wouldn't move my offshore wind turbines, my demonstrators in Aberdeen, designed to show Aberdeen as an all-energy capital, but to which the European Commission had given me €60 million.
Very nice.
By the by. Not me personally,
no.
Scotland. And anyway, Donald said I had to move them.
Right.
Because he said so.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not going to do that, Donald. And I said, plus the fact, Donald, you can't see them from your golf course.
Right.
Because you're surrounded by dunes, you'd have to be on stilts and look 10 miles down the coast.
With a telescope.
Yeah, he maintained, even before they were erected,
Right.
he maintained he'd be able to see them. And that's why we fell out disastrously. And he kept sending me letters in capitals, in green ink, enclosing bits of newspapers from Mexico and places, and with words like, see, look.
Right, as if to prove that your idea was bonkers.
Yes, but my idea wasn't bonkers, because the
Have you kept any of this stuff?
Are still there.
You could have a series
No, I
on
mean,
Netflix.
have you kept any of the letters?
Well, no, I should have done that, shouldn't I?
You should have.
I should have taken your advice. I should have given them to you, Mike.
Yeah.
And done an
They
exclusive.
never throw anything away. You should have given them to me when I was at the Mirror.
No, damn. Why did I think of that? Would I be able to? No, I wouldn't. The first minister would get the cell.
Well, see, nowadays what you can do is you take a picture of everything, and then that way, if you don't keep the original, you can always find it again.
But, I mean, there is one, afterthought to this. I mean, if he does win the presidential again, and he really does want to get rid of these turbines, he probably would have methods of doing so. We better watch out.
You very well have, yeah. Or maybe if he does win the White House once again, you should send him a nice letter with some cuttings in it, with some green ink, capital letters.
I'll send
Congratulations, Donald.
Tartan ink.
Let's have a look at, going back to Baby Reindeer, which you got slightly off subject there. It's Fiona Harvey when she was sitting exactly where you are, Alex, talking to Piers Morgan.
So all of this would come out in a court case?
In disclosure, yes.
And you're prepared to do that?
Yes. Because I didn't write him the emails.
Who do you think did?
I have no idea. I think he probably made them up himself. I've no idea. 41,000 emails.
Yeah. I mean, would
I don't know.
Would you accept that someone who did that would be very obsessive about someone?
Yes. I mean, that's a lot of emails.
Well, even if I did write them, I didn't do all that other stuff. And you're going, sorry? Oh, what? So did you write them or not? I can't remember. I don't think I did. I don't think I wrote that many.
She's got a photographic memory.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you
that
send
was
those
a
it's
brilliant one, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
But she couldn't remember. That was the other thing. She had a photographic memory, but she couldn't remember what grade she got at university.
Well,
I can't remember. It's not really a photographic memory, that, is it?
She had some corker lines, didn't she?
It
They were
was
just
incredible.
So good.
Absolutely incredible. She threatened to sue Piers Morgan for £1 million as well. And he said, you don't want £1 million. What you want is a decent agent, rather than agreeing to do it for 250 in a cab from Knightsbridge. But anyway, there we are. That's it for that section. Coming up, we've got Amanda with some crazy women, funnily enough. And Alex will be back with some more Tory bashing. This is Plank of the Week. See you after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's been a rip snorter of a show so far. I mean, it's hard to believe that here we are in the midst of an elective cycle. And I don't know when it's all going to kick in and we're all going to be told we can't talk about people without listing everybody that's running in the election. But hopefully that day will not come for a while. Amanda, tell us about some crazy women you've spotted this week.
I really love this story. It's mad. So there's a new wellness trend, and I think we're going to have to go at some point to see it, right? It's a rage ritual.
Oh, I've seen this.
It's in America where you get these women who sign up, and all it is them being in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, bashing sticks on the ground, getting all their anger out just by throwing sticks, kind of shouting, screaming.
I'm not joking. She throws stuff a lot.
Would your ex-wife pay $4,000 for the privilege?
No, but she would have got me to do it. She didn't pay for anything. Let's have a look at what they actually do. Here they are. Dear God.
I thought it was Alec just flagellating.
Listening to the Today programme.
I mean, it takes me back to my marriage, that, because there was some Sunday mornings which were a bit like that. I was going out to play golf, actually. I'll see you later.
Hang on. So they go out into nature and hit things with sticks, and you went out and played golf. It's a very similar thing.
Yeah. I mean, only in America, really, right? Because you'd be forced to pay $4,000 for something like that. That's ridiculous.
But the plankery is the fact that people are paying for that. I mean, you could surely just do that, like go out in the garden, grab a stick.
Mind you, imagine if you lived next door to somebody doing that, and they
I would love that. I'd love to watch
every Sunday,
peering out of the window.
It would get a bit old though after a while, wouldn't it?
I think we've seen what a Just Stop Oil correctional facility would be. Where we should potentially send them at the weekend. Oh, you're really angry at the government? Aye, off you go into the woods.
They're not even angry. How do you feel? Sad.
Get
a proper emotion. Come on.
Also, why do they always have to do it collectively? I mean, if you want to go off into the woods on your own and start howling at the moon, fine, but why do you have to do it with a load of other people?
The person who is running this is obviously very clever because they're making loads of money from it. But they've been saying that they feel like women's anger is suppressed and it needs to, need to get it all out. And they think that being in a collective group, it's kind of you're inspiring each other and everyone's shouting and screaming and getting it just out of their system so they can then go back into the world and not, they're going to feel better.
I thought it was the 13 Scottish Green expellees expressing their disappointment.
Is this the sort of female version? It seems you don't hear people talking about it anymore. But remember the Iron John phenomenon?
No.
You don't remember this? Maybe it was in America when I was living there. But men decided that they were kind of losing their manliness at some point. And so this guy who was a sort of guru got together and similarly ripped people off and charged them loads of money. And they went into the woods, basically, and did manly things in the woods. And I don't mean like they did in Deliverance either, by the way, as any of you are wondering. That's one for the teenagers. Banjo playing, hunting, all that sort of thing, shooting crossbows. But no, they would go into the woods and they would sort of live like ancient men. And they would cook over a fire and they would hunt for things and they would, eat the food that they hunted.
Did ancient men do the cooking?
Well, I think they might have done. I presume while they were on the hunt, because they hunted stuff and then brought it all back. So, but it was this kind of similar, we must reaffirm our manliness by somehow hanging around with lots of other men and doing some weird kind of, what might be considered, homoerotic activity.
But you have men's sheds, which is a great organisation. I had the star letter in the Sun, the Scottish Sun this week. And I assumed, of course, you still got the 25 quid.
Yes.
Because you used to get 25 quid. So I said very generously to the Sun in Scotland, I said, send it to the local men's shed. As you do, because you're charitable.
And what is the men's shed?
Well, firstly, they told me there wasn't 25 quid anymore, which is outrageous. Men's shed's an organisation where guys get together and they do things like sort lights, electronics, they do carpentry and joinery, and they go around town sorting things. It's actually, I'm making a light of it, it's a very, very good organisation.
Right. Was it like a charity?
It helps people who've either retired or made redundant, find something really useful to use their skills on. It's a great organisation.
Yeah, okay. Just introduce them to those screaming women, because they probably need a lot of work done at the house. Obviously, that's why they were so upset, because the husband's out playing golf.
You could cure a lot of incels that way, couldn't you? Learn to put up a shelf and you'll get a date.
Yeah, absolutely. With one of those screaming women.
I think we just need to leave them there, though. I just think that's... don't give them any phones or a way of getting out of there. Just take them away and then...
and then forever there'll be these feral women roaming around in forests. So don't go there. Alex, disgracefully, you've now picked more Conservatives.
Rishi Sunak announced he's dripping to the nation that we're all going to the polls. It was reported that a group of Tory rebels got together in the Strangers Bar and said, worked out, did they still have time to send in motions of no confidence to stop the election. And I'm trying to think, what was going to happen then? So let's say they managed it over the grass of Chianti, plotting away, got the letters in. So Rishi then would have to go back to the palace and say to King Charles, look, it's all off. I was only joking.
I'm not in charge anymore.
Then he'd have to wait for the sunshine, and he'd come out and say, in sunny weather, he'd say, look, my party has expressed no confidence in me, so the election's off, and I'm off to America early.
Yes.
I would love it. It would just be such the perfect resolution to all of this. I want to see this happen. Come on, Tory rebels.
The bad news for people, though, who hate elections, like that woman, was it in Bristol?
Barbara.
Another
one?
No, not another one.
Another one.
Yeah, we're going to have weeks and weeks of this, aren't we? Because, you know, day one of the...
45 days.
That's 45 days, 1,000 hours, apparently, the Telegraph.
But, you know, these people have been Conservative Party members of Parliament for years and years and years, probably, and they still don't understand the basis that, they, you know, they get, you know, they're in the trenches. They get ordered over the top.
Yeah.
Theirs is not to reason why. Theirs is to do or die. They are the 500 charging into the valley of death. You can't moan about it after the event.
No.
If you're going to do something about it, you've got to do it before the election's called, not afterwards.
Yeah, but of course they didn't know that he was going to call the election. I mean, the problem for the Tories is that half of them are not standing again anyway. So I don't know how they're going to build up this enthusiasm for actually campaigning at all, because presumably the people who are now the incumbent MPs who are leaving are not going to do the campaigning. So they're going to have to draft in the new candidates. Yeah. Some of whom obviously will have dodgy pasts. We'll go through all that, where some of them have to be kicked out because they said something terrible to somebody 20 years ago. But they'll have to be using all these new people to go out on the stump and try and convince people to vote for them when they've never been in Parliament.
Yeah, so well, maybe Rishi could get some of his expert advisors who he's relying on for advice to go and do the campaigning.
Yes.
They'll be really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. I mean, you were saying, Amanda, that there's a very strange atmosphere in Westminster at the moment.
Yeah,
nobody's really quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, I was in there.
Does it feel like some kind of massive sort of sea change in what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I went in there to just have a drink and sort of get the gossip from everyone, and the bar was absolutely packed, full of journalists, full of MPs. Lots of MPs were really upset, obviously, that are likely to lose their seats.
Yeah.
But it was a really strange atmosphere because everyone was just, they were totally stunned. And so there was just a sense of complete shock.
Right.
And it's just, now it's like reality has hit.
And the idea of using the element of surprise is good, unless the element of surprise impacts your side more than the opponent.
Yes.
Labour are ready for this.
That's how it felt, very much so.
And also, an element of surprise doesn't really work 6 weeks hence, does it? It's a bit like, I remember watching David Letterman when the Falkland Islands War started. He said, I've never understood the Brits. He said, right, we're declaring war in Argentina. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Because it took that long to get down there. So, I mean, I don't know. But interestingly enough, this week as well, the big story was supposed to be, and we were told that one of the reasons he went for this snap election was because he thought Nigel Farage was going to come back into the fray. And only the next day, Nigel Farage actually said, no, I'm not coming back into the fray. And I wonder if he put that out there just to get an election called and then decided not to do it.
I know what happened. I know the lot of it.
I'm sure you do, and you may not wish to be able to tell me.
Not saying anything. But no, I think, look, Nigel's got a point. This was the reason Rishi called it quick and wanted it done and dusted was because of the growth of reform. Yeah. He was terrified about Nigel coming back. And I think he also knew, when you get to sort of call the time, you can get your ducks in a row behind the scenes. He also knows that as a brand new party, reform just doesn't have remotely the same infrastructure as the two legacy parties. And so doing things surprise last minute. And I think, I think that's absolutely
See, I never
valid.
thought he would ever want to run, though, because you know him better than I do, but he doesn't enjoy the kind of, the abuse that he gets and the things that happen when he enters the fray, because he's totally unfairly detested by a lot of people in Britain. I don't know why they detest him so much, but, if he goes off to help Donald Trump become president...
He's going west. He's heading, man. He's going west to help
tell
Donald.
us, Alex, in your view, what reform will do without him. How well will they do?
No, but the thing is, actually...
I don't know. I mean...
Sorry, I meant that, I'll come back to you.
Well, the other Alex knows a fair amount more about reform than I do, but I'm not so certain that it's not a good thing for reform to get out of Nigel Farage's shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got whatever they've got without him over the last year or so. And that's been quite a substantial rise in the polls. I mean, I disagree with reform in just about everything, but Richard Tice has done a pretty good job, in my view, in pushing them forward. So maybe it's a good idea they're not waiting for Nigel to come and save them, because, they've overtaken the Liberals for a start.
Right.
The way things are going, they'll probably overtake the Tories as well. And certainly, whatever in politics north and south of the border does require a significant shake-up.
Yes.
Although reform does need to sort itself out a little bit because one of their candidates had already died. That's not great.
That isn't great.
If you're dead, you should be in the House of Lords, not trying to get in the House of Commons.
Best to start off as you mean to carry on. Yeah, exactly right. Well, listen, we're nearly at the end of the show. So we've only got one more to do. And I'm hoping, I may have to go for a vote because I'm not going to give it to Rishi Sunak. I'm going to declare that now, even if you want me to. But coming up, it's going to be my final nomination, which is the maddest thing I've seen for quite some time. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and we are down to the final one because we've had all the other 9. So it's the University of East Anglia. You might remember the University of East Anglia. It's been famous for a bunch of things, including the hockey stick graph. They were the people that came up with the bogus hockey stick graph, which showed what climate change was doing to the state of the planet. And it turned out that they just made it all up. But you're all looking blankly at me, so maybe I'm the only one that's ever heard of this. But it was quite a big deal at the time, a few years ago. But they have got a recruitment program on the go at the moment because they're trying to enlist more people to go to higher scenes of learning because, of course, they're all losing some of their university foreign student brigades because they're being blocked from coming. So basically what they've done is they've reached out to sort of secondary schools and said that we should have some of you come and do a little course here to see whether you might like university life. And it says, if you're not sure that university is for you, this is your chance to find out. It's a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the University of East Anglia, taking place in July. The perfect way to kickstart your summer holiday. It says we've got a disco night, movies, karaoke, a mini freshers fair to show you all the fun stuff. I mean, they don't actually mention anything to do with learning anything, but I mean,
what's wrong with us so far? This
come back
quite
to that.
Good.
And this is for year 10s, okay? So for those of you who don't know how the system works, I think that's what used to be called the 4th year, or sort of O-level students or GCSE students, okay? But here's the thing. You have to find out whether you can apply and whether or not you're actually eligible, because it says you must have to meet at least one of the eligibility criteria. And here's what the eligibility criteria is. You have to be currently in year 10. You must attend a state school. You have to live in Norfolk or have an NR postcode. And, of course, you have to meet one of these ethnicities. Now, I'll just read them out to you. You have to be Arab or Asian British, Bangladeshi, Asian or Asian British, Pakistani, Asian, black or black British African, black or black British Caribbean, Chinese, Gypsy or traveller, Irish traveller, mixed white and Asian, mixed white and black African, mixed white and black Caribbean, other Asian background, other black background, other mixed background, have a disability as defined below, social communication impairment such as Asperger's, blind or have a serious visual impairment, deaf, long-standing illness such as cancer. I mean, it goes on and on. Anyway,
that was the end. There was no mention of Scotland or Ireland Brew in
there
that.
Was not. No. And I'm afraid if you're white, obviously it doesn't count unless you're mixed white. You can't go. I mean, it seems to be ludicrous. There's no Jewish
that might have been easier
people
to
on
say,
there.
actually, rather than listing everything.
If you're white, just don't bother applying.
You missed the memo, actually. We're not saying white anymore. We're saying global minority.
Do you know, I've heard...
I've seen global minority.
I've seen a phrase of global majority, because I've seen things saying, also we encourage people from global majority communities
It's almost like there's something implicit in that, I find. It's kind of menacing. It's like, well, white people, there's not many of them left. Let's just give it a push and get rid of them altogether.
Right. So the University of East Anglia, clearly in 3 years' time, does not want any sixth formers, or what would be year 13s, to go anywhere near them.
But they also don't want anyone going on that weekend. I think they're trying to save money. They've announced the weekend and got criteria that means to live in an NR postcode and fit all of that. Maybe there's one person
also,
who might
have you
have a
been
great
to
weekend
Norfolk? I mean, I haven't been to Norfolk for a while, but last time I was in Norfolk, it wasn't very diverse, shall we say. Yeah. So I think they're barking up the wrong tree here.
Or alternatively, they've pulled off a tremendous publicity coup. You've fallen from that one again, Mike.
Well, except
University of East Anglia,
I haven't,
master publicist.
Well, no, because you can't apply to go there unless you live in Norfolk. Right?
Yeah, no, but look at all the publicity they're getting, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could go and say I'm an Irish traveller, and how would they know?
Yeah.
Is there a test?
Hey? What's your postcode? Don't know. Don't even. A caravan.
Yeah,
a field.
Have you got a council tax bill? No, don't pay it.
Yeah, exactly.
You could say you edited the Irish Mirror once.
I could say that. Absolutely. Now, apparently, it's time for me to make the judgment as to what should win it. So, on this occasion, I've got a wig for the purposes of it.
My God.
So I think, and a gavel. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a barrister's wig, which may be no longer available to barristers, so I may have to put one on myself. Now. What do you think? Anything? Does that look good? It doesn't look anything like a barrister's wig.
You look a bit like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. A bit too high.
Even without the wig.
How about that? Is that good?
How does it feel?
It doesn't look anything like a wig.
Fantastic, mate.
It doesn't look anything like a wig.
Yeah, but keep it on.
Should be some neuro.
Order.
You need to flick your ponytail.
What?
Yeah, the ponytail makes it
Sorry?
look like you're in an 80s band.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I used to be in ABC.
Where's your black cap, Mike?
Well, that's only for specific purposes when we're sending somebody to the
you
gallows.
Really suit this.
Who are we going to do here? Because I can't make it Rishi Sunak. I mean, could I make it? I don't think I should.
Police saying don't arrest people.
I think the police.
Rishi Sunak. It's got to be Rishi Sunak.
No, I don't think so.
Something.
No, because I don't believe that he's done anything bad here. I think he's actually rescued himself from the mire. And he's shown himself to be a decent leader. The first time in history that Rishi Sunak's done something strategic and interesting that we're all talking about. And I think later on in life, you're going to look back on the wetsuit and go, that was a masterstroke.
I'm Rishi.
in a few days after...
Just sweet Rishi.
After he's dried off, those trousers are going to shrink. He's going to look even worse.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's got such short trousers to begin with.
I
think you're right, Steve. I think I'm going to go with the police. The police told to make fewer arrests.
Yeah.
So the man over there who needs a wig more than I do. Thank you very much
strange
indeed.
hybrid of court and auction house.
Well, don't ever give me a gavel.
Are we selling prisoners now? Is that what we're doing?
I'm worried this is too much power. Look at him.
Yeah,
He's actually reveling
I'm going to
in
come around and test reflexes in a minute as well.
Again.
I pretend to be a doctor.
No.
It's very hot.
Alex
actually.
wanted it to take to the men's shed.
Yeah. Well, listen, you can take it away with you if you wish, but I'm now contaminated.
We take everything.
Okay. Alex Salmond, thank you very much. Devlin, Steve and Allen, Alex Phillips, thank you very much indeed. Plank of the week is going to the police. There we are. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.